You can't remember what you studied last Tuesday. Meanwhile, a chess grandmaster can look at a board for 3 seconds, look away, and reconstruct every single piece from memory. 32 pieces, 64 squares, perfect recall, 3 seconds. You think they're geniuses? Born different, special brains, wrong. Magnus Carlsen failed his first tournament. Garry Kasparov was an average student. They don't have bigger brains, they have a better operating system. I reverse engineered how grandmasters process, store, and retrieve information. It comes down to 4 systems, the same systems that let elite coders debug faster, doctors diagnose quicker, and lawyers destroy opponents in court. I'm about to show you exactly what they are, and by the end of this, you'll never think about learning the same way again. Chapter 1, Pattern Stacking. Most people try to memorize individual facts, dates, definitions, formulas, then they wonder why it all falls out of their head. By Friday, idiots. Grandmasters don't memorize individual pieces on a board. They memorize patterns, clusters, shapes they've seen 10,000 times before. Psychologist Adrian de Groot proved this in 1946. He showed chess positions to grandmasters and beginners for 5 seconds. Grandmasters recalled almost every piece. Beginners remembered maybe 4 or 5. But here's the thing. When de Groot showed them random boards, pieces placed with no logic, grandmasters performed just as badly as beginners. Same brain, same eyes, same 5 seconds. The difference wasn't memory, it was recognition. Grandmasters don't see 32 individual pieces, they see 5 or 6 familiar chunks. Pawn structure they've seen before, a castled king formation, an open file attack pattern. Each chunk is one item in working memory, not 12. Your working memory holds about 7 items. If you're memorizing 12 random facts, you're already overloaded. But if you group those 12 facts into 3 patterns, suddenly you're only using 3 slots. You have room to think, room to connect, room to actually understand. This is why medical students who learn illness scripts outperform students who memorize symptom lists. Diabetic ketoacidosis isn't 3 random symptoms. It's one pattern, one chunk. The fastest learners in every field do this. They don't memorize more, they chunk better. So stop making flashcards for every isolated fact. Start asking yourself, what pattern does this belong to? What other things does this connect to? Group first, memorize second. But here's the problem though, you can chunk everything perfectly and still forget it all next week. Patterns need to be locked in. That's where the second system comes in. Chapter 2, Pressure Testing. Here's what most people do. They read their notes, they highlight, they review, they feel smart, they fail the test. Why? Because recognition is not recall. You recognize the words on the page, so your brain thinks it knows the material. It doesn't. This is called the illusion of competence, and it's destroying your learning. Grandmasters never fall for this. Know why? Because chess doesn't let you. Every move is a test. You can't highlight the board and hope for the best. You have to retrieve the right pattern, under pressure, in real time, or you lose. That pressure is the entire point. Researchers Jeffrey Karpik and Henry Roediger proved this in 2008. Students who practiced retrieving information retained 80% after a week. Students who just reread retained 36%, more than double the retention just from testing yourself instead of reviewing. But most people avoid testing because it feels hard, it feels uncomfortable. You close the book, try to recall what you read, and your mind goes blank. That blankness terrifies you. So you open the book again, go back to highlighting. Back to the illusion. Wrong. That blankness is the learning. When your brain struggles to retrieve something, it releases neurochemicals that strengthen the memory trace. A mistake doesn't weaken your knowledge, it welds it into place. Grandmasters play blitz chess on purpose, fast games, no time to think, maximum retrieval pressure. They play hundreds of games a week, not because it's fun, but because every game is a high-speed recall test. Your version, close the textbook. Write down everything you remember. Get it wrong, good. Check the answer. Try again tomorrow. The struggle is the point. If your studying feels comfortable, you're not learning. You're performing. 2 systems down. Hit subscribe before you forget them. One more problem to solve. Here's the thing though. You can chunk perfectly and test yourself constantly. But if you practice the wrong way, you'll plateau forever. That's the trap almost everyone falls into. The third system fixes it. Chapter 3, Targeted Isolation. Most people practice by doing the whole thing. Read the whole chapter, play the whole song, run the whole procedure over and over. They get decent, then they stop improving, they hit a wall, and they don't understand why. Grandmasters figured this out centuries ago. They don't play full games to improve. They isolate positions. Endgame with king and rook versus king. That's it. Just that one scenario, drill it 500 times until it's automatic. then move to the next weakness. Anders Ericsson studied this for 30 years. He called it deliberate practice. The difference between someone who plays guitar for 20 years and stays mediocre and someone who becomes world-class in 5, the world-class player isolates their weakest point and drills only that. The mediocre player plays their favorite songs over and over, feels great, learns nothing. Grandmasters use databases of their own lost games. They don't study their wins, they study their failures. They find the exact moment the position went wrong, then they drill that specific pattern until the mistake becomes impossible. Your version, stop rereading the whole chapter. Find the one concept you can't explain, drill that, write it out, test yourself on it, teach it to someone. When you can explain it clearly without notes, move on, not before. This is why tutoring works better than lectures. A tutor finds your specific gap and attacks it. A lecture teaches everyone the same thing and hopes for the best. Schools hate this because it requires individual attention. It doesn't scale. But your learning isn't supposed to scale. It's supposed to work. But here's the problem though. Even with perfect chunking, constant testing, and targeted practice, there's one thing that will sabotage everything. And almost nobody talks about it. Chapter 4. Strategic forgetting. You think forgetting is the enemy. Wrong. Forgetting is the system. Your brain deletes 90% of what you experience on purpose. It's not broken, it's efficient. Hermann Ebbinghaus discovered the forgetting curve in 1885. Without review, you lose half of what you learn within 24 hours. Within a week, 90% gone. Most people panic when they hear this. They cram harder, study longer, reread more, all wrong. Grandmasters don't fight forgetting, they use it. Here's how. They let themselves forget just enough, then they retrieve the information right at the edge of forgetting. That moment of struggle, when the memory is fading but not yet gone, that is when the retrieval strengthens the memory the most. It's called the spacing effect, and it's the most well-replicated finding in all of cognitive psychology. Piotr Wozniak built an entire algorithm around this. It calculates exactly when you're about to forget something and prompts you to review it at that exact moment. Grandmasters use spaced repetition software to drill thousands of chess positions. They don't review positions they know well. The algorithm hides those. They only see the ones they're about to forget. Maximum struggle, maximum retention, minimum time wasted. Your version, stop reviewing everything equally. Use Anki or any spaced repetition tool. Let the algorithm decide what you review and when. Trust the system. Review the card right before you'd forget it. Your brain interprets that struggle as a survival signal. It keeps the information permanently. 15 minutes a day with spaced repetition beats 5 hours of cramming always. The math isn't even close. Grandmasters don't have superhuman memory, they have a superhuman system. Chunking compresses information. Pressure testing locks it in. Targeted isolation eliminates weaknesses. Strategic forgetting optimizes review. By the way, I put all of this into a one-page system you can print. The pattern stacking template, the pressure testing tracker, the isolation drill planner, and the spaced repetition schedule. Link in the description, it's free. But here's the thing. You now know how to memorize faster, retain longer, and practice smarter. But none of that matters if you can't sit down and focus for more than 6 minutes. Your brain is hijacked, dopamine, fried, attention span shattered. You know the methods now. But your focus is broken. That's why I made this video breaking down exactly how to rewire your brain for deep focus using the same methods that prisoners use to study 16 hours a day. Watch it next.